Hey there, how's it going? So I wanted to make a video around Path of Exile 2 and the Poison Pathfinder build. I'm calling this the Toxic Bomber build. And the reason I'm making the video and a YouTube channel at all is because I've been going through a lot of Pathfinder Reddit posts, YouTube videos, etc., and I can't find anybody talking about these abilities, and I'm not sure why. This build seems really easy, really smooth to me. It's very survivable from what I can see so far. And this isn't like a build guide. This isn't like a, here's how you should do it. This is just kind of a conversation starter in terms of what seems to be working for me and my questions around it and why I can't seem to find hardly anybody else talking about it. Everybody else seems to be going a long way out of what it appears to me that GGG has designed around this archetype to avoid doing what I'm doing. And it just seems to me, building out this character, that doing what I'm doing is actually the path of least resistance and works really well. So, as you can see in the background footage, just clearing, white mobs, yellow mobs, whatever. Really easy, really smooth. There's never any sense of like, oh, things are really going to kill me now. If I die, it's because I stood in something, I didn't pay attention to a death effect, um, you know, I dodge rolled at the wrong time, whatever. It's always like I screwed up. It's a skill issue. Um, as long as I'm sort of paying attention and not like watching YouTube or something while I'm playing, everything just dies and I'm never in any threat of dying. The more mobs come at me, the better. What I'm trying to do is to suck everything in and just kill it all. There's never a sense of like, oh, I've got to get away. It's always like, yeah, come on in. Water's warm and there's some, green stuff on the ground. You should definitely stand in the green stuff. So that's kind of how it feels as I'm fighting the boss. Shaman Ra here. Yeah, I screwed up a couple of times on mechanics, but as long as I'm not standing in the wrong place, um, he's just gonna die. There's no sense of like, oh, it's gonna be really hard. Oh, I don't know if I can kill this boss. It's just like if I learn the mechanics enough to not stand in the wrong place at the wrong time on a boss, it's gonna die. It's real easy. So moving on to like the abilities, what is this build? How does it work? I think from the Pathfinder videos I've seen, it may surprise people to see that I have Poison Burst Arrow. It does a healthy amount of damage. It also adds corrosion, so I'm doing some armor break there. It helps stack poisons, and it also has a great cast time, and you can move around well with the build I have pretty well in terms of like casting on the go. Um, so it has good, decent attack speed, which will build out more as I get more dexterity. So it's just like a stacking attack speed thing that comes with what I'm already doing. Gas arrow, obviously. Um, I have scatter shot on that. This is lots of damage build stacks of poison. But let me jump down here. Vine arrow is just it's a little bit of dot, slow, whatever. It has font of blood, and then a little bleed on there and just a little added flavor DPS. I can throw this out if I want to. I don't have to. But the big thing that is probably looking different is Plague Bearer. Um, Plague Bearer, when I initially picked this up, I was just like, okay, poison, poison, poison. Let me see what Pathfinder poison like. Okay, this is the green one. Let me just grab the green one. And then I got it, and I was like, oh, this thing is worthless. Like, it has this Nova ability, the Plague Nova that you can see I don't even have on my bars. And it's essentially trash in terms of casting this ability. Don't even use it. And I also specifically don't use it because of how the buff works. And then we get into toxic growth. And this is where I feel like people don't. When I hear people talk about toxic growth, I never hear them talk about the buff and how this actually works. So, uh, so let me talk about the mechanics of how this builds out. You throw something on the ground, either the vine arrow or this. This isn't doing much on its own. And even if you have poison buffs, like when you get that explosion there, it takes a long time, and it doesn't do much damage. Right? So this alone isn't doing much. Now you can empower these with poisons, and that's great. But you're still not getting the full potential. The full potential here comes from having this buff active. So this buff is going to store, you can see in the gameplay footage earlier, it stores up to 100% of whatever its cap is, and the cap is determined by the level. So 4% of expected poison damage. So whenever I'm doing poison damage, it's building up the storage. It stores up to 1178 poison damage. And when it gets to 100%, it's just going to stay there. As long as you don't cast the Poison Nova, you're just going to have that until you die or you enter a new zone. Okay? And building it up is really quick. You just poison things and it builds up super fast. Once you have sort of like, 5, 6 stacks of poison going on enemies. Like on a boss, it takes a little longer because there's only one enemy, but for just clearing out a zone, you build it up in the first few seconds. And then it just sits there. All of that stored damage is going to buff toxic growth up to 100% of whatever toxic growth was already doing. So like right now it's 436. I guarantee you this is doubling in terms of DPS at least. So and then you add the poison buff on top of it. Okay, so you throw it on the ground, you buff it with poisons, which buffs the damage, and then you have your stored damage from Plague Bearer, which then doubles whatever it was going to do. This is what is hitting so big. This is the core. I wouldn't say it's a core because really like Gas Arrow, Poison Burst, whatever. It's still stacking poisons. You're still trying to stack poison. But Toxic Growth is what makes everything go boom quickly. Now, some things on the mechanics of Toxic Growth. It has the plus 0.7 seconds to total attack time, and then it has the leaping in the air. And I think those two things are what scares people away from using this ability. The cast time itself, I have the Falcon technique that buffs your attack speed based on, let me just check what it is. So right here, buffs attack speed for dexterity. And so that's brought the cast time of this down. And will continue to, as I level up my character, get more dex, it's going to just, scale that attack speed. So right now the attack time is 1.47 seconds, which is roughly double this 0.7. That will go down, but it can't go down below 0.7. 0.7 is the absolute floor of the cast time for this ability. In practice, honestly, it's fine. Like, if you've cast Escape Shot, then you basically have experienced what this does. And part of what it does is gets you out of trouble. So if a bunch of mobs are coming at me, my sequence is to lay down my Gas Arrow and have them, hey, guys, walk right here. Walk to the green stuff. Okay? And as soon as they get to me and they're about to think that they're all going to kill me, I cast this, and it's sitting in the Gas Arrow, and they all blow up. Like, usually it's before I hit the ground. So I've got green, they all come, I hit this, and they're all going to die. It also seems to, when the buff is active, it goes faster. So they're pretty much all going to die as soon as they get to me. And that's the mechanics. Then you can throw down your, vine if you want. You can hit them with the old explosive, or the poison burst arrow if you want. All of this stuff is stuff that I do like during boss fights. I'll throw down everything. But a lot of times in clearing trash, I'll either just do the gas, which is fine and kills things, or I'll do it like this, or I'll do it like there's no real hard rotation. You have these 4 tools, and you sort of apply them whatever in whichever way is convenient. As long as your poison is at a minimum on whatever your target is, you're doing damage. It's just that you can do more damage if you can safely cast that. Now, a lot of times in boss fights, there's some kind of mechanic where being in the air for 1.4 seconds means you're going to die, right? So you have to be judicious about your timing. And again, people say, oh, it lacks survivability. Well, I would say maybe you lack, deciding when to hit this button at the right time. I don't know. It's up to you to like not die because you were hanging in the air. Additionally, enemies with spears, some slams. You know, there's stuff out there as you're playing through. You'll notice like, oh, I see. If I go up in the air, number one, I won't get the full cast because they caught me in the air and pulled me down. Or it just, you know, the monkey slam will kill me or whatever. Again, these are all just like kind of learning to live with the build a little bit. In terms of passive points, you know, I'm taking everything that says poison is basically I'm taking all of this stuff. But just like any other poison build, I'm stacking projectile damage. Projectile damage there, projectile damage there. Anything that's going to build projectile damage, I should probably take these too. You know, that's going to buff your poison damage, and anything that's buffing poison damage is also going to buff your toxic growth. So, conclusions. I think this plays out largely like any other poison build, okay? Any other toxic gas arrow build you see, it's going to play out very similarly, with the addition of this other thing that if you can cast it is going to make a big boom. And so a lot of videos or discussions I've seen around it are like, well, I don't want to massively, you know, go into this thing that has slow cast time and low survivability, blah, blah, blah. That's not been my experience. Now, I'm not to end game yet. I'm in Cruel. We will see how it goes. Again, I'm not trying to say this is how you should do it or this is the best build ever. I don't know. I am experimenting with it. I am having fun being curious about this and learning about it and talking about it. That's fun for me. It's not fun for me to go like follow a cookie cutter build guide and just, you know, get spoon fed my passives and whatever. I find enjoyment from going through and reading all the tooltips and trying to like, oh, how does this work with this? And oh, I see this works poorly, this works well, whatever. So I'm just trying to figure it out. And that's fun for me. So I thought I'd make this video, talk about this a little bit, and you know, if you like it, let me know. If you have questions or comments about the abilities, if you have ideas or things you think I missed, let me know. And other than that, just have fun. Great game. Having a super good time, and hope you are too. Have a great day.